Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next Congressman from District 20, Joaquin Castro.
Good evening. Thank you. You know, it's wonderful to be in the company of so many enthusiastic Texas Democrats. I'm Joaquin Castro, and back home, I'm the less famous of a set of twins, and the younger twin. So today, I have the honor of introducing you to my older brother, San Antonio Mayor Julian Castro. Thank you. You know, if you've seen the two of us, you know that Julian and I look a lot alike. But if you look close, there's at least two ways to tell us apart. There's a quick way and an easy way. The quick way is that Julian has been incredibly blessed, and he's got a wonderful wife, Erica, who's a public school teacher, and a 3-year-old daughter, Karina. But as hard as my mom has tried, she's not been able to marry me off yet, so he's got the wedding ring and I don't. But if you're looking for an easier way to tell us apart, the easy way is that I'm just a lot better looking than my brother. I'm just kidding, just a little bit of brotherly love. You know, over the years, I've had a chance to travel through many of the places that you call home. Wonderful cities like Beaumont and Texarkana, Waco and Corpus Christi. And as I've made my way, I've been reminded that when each of us thinks of Texas, we each think of our own special homes, from the mountains of El Paso and West Texas, to the piney woods of East Texas, to the small cities that run along Highway 83 in the valley that connect Harlingen and Brownsville, to our big cities like Houston. These places help shape who we are, how we see the world, and what we wish for it. For Julian, the place that he will always call home is the west side of San Antonio. It's where our family settled almost 100 years ago now. If you were to drive through the neighborhoods where we grew up, you'd see many battered houses with broken boards and worn roofs, front yards with as much dirt as grass. You'd see small businesses where store owners know the names of their customers, and restaurants where you pay your check at the counter on the way out. These may not be the neighborhoods that real estate agents show to newcomers, but they're beautiful places filled with humble, hardworking people who grind out a living by day and say prayers of thanks to God at night. From here, both my parents were inspired to community service. Our mother, Rosie Castro, spent her years working on behalf of civil rights and the rights of women. Our father, Jesse Guzman, spent 31 years as a school teacher, 26 of those in the Edgewood district. It's from this neighborhood 20 years ago that Julian left to board a plane for Stanford University in California and later for Harvard Law School, taking the lessons of hard work and modesty with him. Julian has also taken these lessons into public service. He understands something very important, that we must build the infrastructure of opportunity that will enable people from wherever they come to realize their American dreams. You see, just as there's an infrastructure of streets and highways that helps us get to where we want to go on the road, there's another kind of infrastructure in America that helps us get to where we want to go in life. Great public schools and universities, a strong healthcare system, an economy built around well-paying jobs so people can support themselves and their families. That's the infrastructure of opportunity in America, and together we must build it. You know, not everybody gets that. In fact, I've served almost 10 years in the state legislature with a lot of Republicans who don't get it. In many ways, the Texas that Republicans have created is a sad answer to poet Langston Hughes' question, what happens to a dream deferred? In Rick Perry's Texas, so many dreams are dying up today. But as mayor of America's 7th largest city, Julian understands this. Since taking office in 2009, he's worked with the business community and the larger community to create jobs in traditional and emerging industries, to improve access to college for thousands of students, and to take head-on the challenges of reducing teen pregnancy and domestic violence. More than that, he's accomplished it in the most fiscally responsible way. In fact, San Antonio is the only major American city with a AAA bond rating by all 3 top ratings agencies. In San Antonio, we are in a moment of incredible momentum. And under Julian's leadership, the horizon appears brighter and broader than ever before. He is building the infrastructure of opportunity for all of us. Fellow Texans, fellow Democrats, please help me welcome my brother, San Antonio Mayor Julian Castro. Thank you. Thank you. I see Senate District 26 is in the house. Thank you very much, Joaquin. You know, he may be younger by 1 minute, but he's still my younger brother. And he will be the next congressman for the 20th Congressional District of Texas. I will say this about Joaquin, he is handsome. I was going to ask him to stay up here so that we might deliver the first surround sound convention speech, but we decided against it. I want to say a big thank you as well to Chairman Ritchie. Congratulations on a great tenure, and thank you for the wonderful work you've done on behalf of the Democratic Party in Texas. I also want to thank Cindy Flint and the organizing committee. Let's give them a big round of applause for the great work they've done. Of course, I'd like to thank Mayor Parker and all of our Houston elected officials for hosting us for our great convention. And I'd like to give a special thanks and recognize my good friends from San Antonio. I wouldn't be here without your support. And I particularly want to acknowledge and thank my beautiful wife, Erica. She's the love of my life, she's a wonderful mom, and since I only make $40 a week as mayor, she's also the major breadwinner in our family. Thank you. As Texas Democrats, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Lyndon B. Johnson, Henry B. Gonzalez, Barbara Jordan, Ann Richards, and many, many others. Folks who waged the toughest battles in the toughest of times. But today, I'm not here to ask you to look back to find Texas political heroes. I'm asking you to look around. The future of our party begins in this room, and it begins now. As Texans, we should take pride in the fact that our state has lower unemployment than just about every other big state, that we're growing in population and enjoying strong economic growth among big states. That's a great thing. But let's not kid ourselves.
There's another side to the story that the Republicans don't want America to know about. Have you ever had the experience of finding a coin on the ground? You see it because the light catches it and it's shiny. So you pick it up, but you turn it over and you realize that it's dusty and rusted out on the bottom, and the luster is gone. In many ways, that's the Texas of today. Governor Perry is so busy showing off the shiny side that he's neglecting the damage and decay. Texas Republicans are so busy patting themselves on the back that they're not paying attention to the things we need to do to move forward. When you only look at the shiny side, you don't see that our young people rank 50th in the nation in graduating from high school. That Texas ranks 44th in per pupil spending. You don't see that we have the highest number of uninsured children in the entire nation. And you don't see that Texas ranks in the bottom 10 in home ownership. And yet we have the second highest insurance rates in the country. You don't see that the elements needed to make our state shine tomorrow are in decay today. Our greatest leaders have always dealt with the challenges of today with an eye fixed firmly on the future. Our greatest leaders have unified our state behind a shared vision and then invested in that vision. Our greatest leaders didn't just celebrate the brightest lights, they also worked to brighten the shadows. As Texans, as Democrats, we know what real leadership looks like. It's leadership that recognizes that our limits are determined not by the borders of our state, but by the scope of our imagination, where our potential is found not just in our financial capital, but in our human capital, where our purpose is defined not by the lines that separate us, but by the values that bring us together. That's the leadership we need to unleash a globally competitive 21st century Texas, a Lone Star state that is America's North Star, and a state that is, no matter where you look, a shining star. I got to see that kind of leadership in action back in the summer of 1990. I was about 15 or 16 years old, and Ann Richards was coming through town in San Antonio during her campaign against Clayton Williams. Y'all remember that? Now, my mother, you know her, she's quite the political activist. So if Ann Richards was coming to town, she wasn't going to miss the rally. And she was going to make sure that I didn't miss it either. And after the event, as Governor Richards was shaking hands, she stopped right in front of me, looked me in the eye, took my hand, and made me promise to her that I would stay in school, graduate, and make my parents proud. She talked to me as if I were her own son. She wasn't spouting some empty political slogan. It wasn't campaign backslapping. These were the words of someone who truly cared about our future and knew that if all of the kids in Texas could do what she asked, everything else would fall into place. I did graduate from high school, and I hope that I've made my parents proud. But I also recognize that whatever I've accomplished, whatever I've achieved, I didn't do it alone. Because while the hand shaking mine was the governor's, the hand on my shoulder was my mother's. And let me tell you, it was quite a firm hand. My mother dreamed dreams for Joaquin and for me long before we were able to dream them for ourselves. Long before my brother and I got on a plane to California to leave home for the first time, she dreamed that we would go to college. Long before we ever walked into a law school classroom, she fought for laws that helped us get into that classroom. And long before I became mayor, she recognized that the true measure of a man is not the power he holds, but on whose behalf he wields it. The reason I'm standing before you today is that my mother didn't just dream. In ways big and small, she helped my brother and me chart a path that would bring those dreams to life. And that path was a great education. Education wasn't just the path toward upward mobility for my family. It's the foundation for economic prosperity for our state and our nation. In a world where 64% of all jobs require more than a high school diploma, a world where employers can't find enough skilled workers to fill open positions, in a world where brain power is the new currency of success, investing in education isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And in San Antonio, it's also an investment that we take seriously. Now, we have a clear vision to orchestrate the greatest turnaround in achievement that any big city has seen within a decade. Boosting the number of children showing up ready to learn, graduating from high school and finishing college. Recently, we opened Cafe College, a one-stop shop in downtown San Antonio where students can receive help with everything from college test prep to financial aid paperwork. More than 10,000 San Antonians already served. And just last fall, we launched Serve SA. We enlisted volunteers from across the city to tutor second graders to read, and mentor middle schoolers, and help graduating seniors fill out their FAFSA. And to do that, we forged a strong alliance with the business community. You see, they know that you can't simultaneously be pro-business and anti-education. They know that we shortchange our state's economic growth if we fail to educate young people for the world to come. Every Texan knows that, except Rick Perry. His Republican administration cut $4 billion out of our public schools. That's 12,000 Texas teachers without a job, and millions of young Texas students crammed into overcrowded classrooms. It turns out that Texas Republicans just don't get it. They don't understand that slashing education in the fastest growing state in the union may sometimes make for clever politics, but it's always bad business. And fellow Democrats, the stakes are high. Instead of treating our schools as a budgetary burden, we must guide our students' brainpower to propel Texas forward. Instead of cutting teachers, pay them what they deserve. Instead of tumbling to the bottom, race to the top. Look around you. The Texas of today is the face of America tomorrow. What we do here matters. If we get this right, we'll be a model for the rest of America. If we get it wrong, we'll be a cautionary tale, a coin in which the decay creeps around the side and overtakes the shine. You know, it wasn't until I left Texas that I could truly see all that our state could become. I saw Silicon Valley and I thought, this could happen back home. I saw biomedical innovation in Boston and thought, this could happen in Texas. I realized that the flat plains of our state weren't empty and barren. They were the canvas on which we could paint a brighter future. I sat in classrooms with students who had taken many more AP classes than I had and who had higher SAT scores than I did. I saw students who came from all over the world with elite backgrounds and elite educations who had been elevated by high expectations their whole lives. And you know what? The folks at Stanford and Harvard were smart. But they were no smarter, no better, no more capable than the students that I sat in class with at Thomas Jefferson High School, or the students you grew up with in Lufkin or Lubbock, or Midland or McAllen, or Beaumont or San Benito, or anywhere else. The difference wasn't one of talent or aptitude or drive. The difference was that too often their lives had been lived on the other side of the coin, the side where opportunity, expectations, and support were in too short supply, the side of the coin that Republicans love to govern on. We are a state defined by the rugged individual, the roughneck, the rancher, the vaquero. And there's a fierce strain of individualism that runs through all of us as Texans. Texas may be the one place left where people actually still use bootstraps. And we expect folks to pull themselves up by them. But we also recognize that there are things that nobody, no matter how sturdy your bootstraps, can do alone. No one person built our great state by themselves. Throughout our history, our fortunes have been intertwined. Our trials and our triumphs have been weathered and won together. The story of Texas is one of ordinary people banding together to build a new life, a new society, under a vast sky. A hardscrabble group of patriots took a stand for liberty at the Alamo. Men and women on a mission to the moon built the greatest space center in the world. And during the natural disaster that became a human tragedy, Hurricane Katrina, Texans of all colors and backgrounds provided shelter from the storm and the help people needed to reunite their families and begin rebuilding their lives here in Houston. It's that unifying sense of purpose, that commitment to building something greater than ourselves and for more than ourselves, that has driven our work in San Antonio. Our vision, which we call SA 2020, is to be a globally competitive, world-class city by the year 2020. Now, this isn't something that I could achieve as mayor alone or even with the help of the city council. We needed to mobilize our entire community. We started off by holding citywide town halls. We hoped that a few hundred people would show up. At the first meeting, more than 1,200 people showed up. It was amazing to see CEOs sitting next to neighborhood leaders, students sitting with seniors, Longhorns sitting with Aggies, all in the same room, forging our aspirations for San Antonio. As one observer said, in most places, rancor is a political currency. But in San Antonio, collaboration is our currency. And it turns out That buys a whole lot. It's allowed us to invest in our highways and our airport, strengthening our links to global markets, and allowed us to invest in the education of our children today who will create the jobs of tomorrow. Now, the return on investment came late last year when San Antonio was ranked as the top performing local economy by the Milken Institute. These days, we hear a lot of talk about how Americans are tired of politics. They're disillusioned with government. But I think the real issue is that Americans are tired of politicians battling over manufactured issues instead of solving real ones. Texans aren't giving up, either on their communities or on their country. In San Antonio, when called to action, they showed up and they said, "Let me be part of the solution." That's what gives me hope that a unifying vision is the right vision. Now, at our state capitol, some folks seem to want to avoid working together at all costs. Time and again, this governor and his Republican supermajority have refused to make the investments we do need while dividing us with distractions we don't need. See, we believe the real emergency is getting more students across the graduation stage, not frivolous voter ID laws. We believe that veterans who risk their lives for us shouldn't have to come home and fight for their own livelihoods here. We believe that a woman's right to privacy is an individual liberty, not a political wedge issue. And we believe that it's more important to build bridges to send Texas products across the world than to build a wall that cuts us off from it. Governor Perry and the Texas Republican Party haven't just refused to provide the leadership we need. They've abandoned their responsibility to represent the interests of all Texans. Republicans haven't just departed from the mainstream. They've departed from mainstream values. Since when does cutting health care for children make you the party of family values? Since when does denying women their basic rights make you the party of freedom and liberty? Since when does smoke and mirrors budgeting make you the party of fiscal accountability? The truth is, you and I know it doesn't. And this year's presidential election will provide a very clear choice. President Obama inherited the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. And he acted to keep thousands of Texas teachers in the classroom and cops on the beat, and made investments in the industries of the future. The president made a bold call to save our auto industry. And today, they're back at work making the best cars in the world. Today, the verdict is in. Over 2 straight years of private sector job growth, more than 4 million private sector jobs created, including 500,000 manufacturing jobs. Can you imagine Mitt Romney making that call? Can you imagine that? No. He said, "Let Detroit go bankrupt." And as governor, his state ranked 47th in the nation in job creation, almost dead last. President Obama doesn't need to apologize for passing a health care law that says insurance companies can't deny folks coverage because of pre-existing conditions. And we can all take pride as Democrats and Americans that the president had the courage to bring an end to the war in Iraq. to refocus our energy on the folks who actually attacked us on 9/11, and to bring Osama bin Laden to justice. That's what real leadership looks like. We must re-elect President Obama. In your neighborhoods, in your cities, in your counties, in your communities, get out there, knock on doors, call your friends, text them, tweet them, email them, heck, maybe even speak to them face to face. Do everything that you got to do to get President Obama reelected in November. You know, we used to hear a lot from folks who said that they didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left them. Today's Republican Party is leaving just about everyone behind. To them, compromise is a non-starter. Moderate is a four-letter word. And in a few weeks, when they nominate Ted Cruz for Senate, they'll officially have jumped the shark. You see, folks are reevaluating their past political allegiances because people are fed up with the politics of division. They're fed up with the politics of exclusion. They're fed up with petty politics, and they're fed up with Perry politics. But that's not the Texas that we believe in. That's not the leadership that we'll provide. You see, we're the folks who care about both sides of the coin. We share a belief that public service fundamentally is a tool for solving problems, not for people, but with people. If I've learned anything in my time in public service, it's that if you open a forum for people to engage, they'll contribute. If you create an opportunity for people to be heard, they'll speak. If you call on a community to take on our greatest challenges, they'll rise to the occasion. I know, Texas Democrats, that for 2 decades we've struggled. But I believe now more than ever that we have an opportunity to bring back to Texas the leadership they demand and deserve. That's the opportunity in front of us in this year, 2012, right here, right now. In your community, organize, volunteer, spread the word, spread the gospel. It's time for us to show our whole state what real leadership looks like and build a Texas that shines from all sides and for all people. I told you a little bit about my mother. I want to close by telling you about my grandmother, Victoria. By the time she was 6 years old, my grandmother was an orphan. She had to leave her home in Mexico to come to San Antonio with relatives who had agreed to take her in. My grandmother never made it past the 3rd grade. She had to drop out of school to start working and help support her family. But by the time I was born, this incredible woman had taught herself to read and write in Spanish and English. And she spent her whole life working because of her lack of education as a maid, a cook, and a babysitter, barely scraping by, but still working hard to give my mother a good chance in life so that my mother could give me and my brother an even better shot. My grandmother was a fantastic cook. By the way, a skill that never really quite transferred to Joaquin or to me. And the day before Joaquin and I were born, she won $300 in a menudo cook-off. And that money came in pretty handy. In fact, she used it to help pay our hospital bill. My grandmother didn't live to see us enter public service, but she probably would have thought it extraordinary that just 2 generations after she got to San Antonio, one grandson would be the mayor, and the other would be on his way to the United States Congress. My family's story is not special. What's special is the America that's made our story possible. This is a nation like no other, with unlimited potential, and a Texas where great journeys can be made in just the space of a generation. Today, Erica and I are the parents of a precious little girl, Karina Victoria. Now, I love my job, but I love even more getting home at the end of the day and seeing her big smile and getting an even bigger hug. And all the time, I ask myself the questions that all of us as parents wonder about. What will her life hold? What will her Texas look like? What America will she inherit? Will it shine with opportunity and possibility, or be damaged and decayed? Will our Texas be left behind, or will we shepherd America to its greatest days yet? We cannot leave the answers to chance. It shouldn't be a coin toss. So tonight, the future of Texas is calling on us. From the Panhandle to the Rio Grande Valley, the need for common sense leadership has never been more urgent. The future is calling us. Across the country, as he campaigns for re-election, President Obama is asking folks a very simple question. Are you in? In fighting for our party's future, for our state's future, Texas Democrats, I ask you the same thing. Houston, are you in? Dallas, are you in? The Valley, are you in? El Paso, are you in? San Antonio, are you in? Tonight, let us stand up as one party, one state, one Texas, and proudly say, we are in. The future of Texas is calling on us, and we're answering that call. Vámonos!